are dyslexic, and only 2 million know it. For children, being undiagnosed can lead to problems speaking and reading out loud in the classroom, but in adults, it can lead to other issues. New Orleans author Ameer Baraka is telling his story of dyslexia in his new book. It's titled Undiagnosed, The Ugly Side of Dyslexia. And he's in the studio this morning to tell us more about his journey and his book. I'm so excited that you wrote a book.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Of course. You've been sharing parts of your inspiring story on the show for years. For people not familiar with it, kind of tell us a little bit of your story.
Well, dyslexia it affects 1 in 5 people, and I was a person that was affected by it. And so I'm using my acting platform to really sound the alarm about this issue, because it's replete in the prison system, which I was a part of. It's all throughout these poor communities. So it's very important that we get this message out.
Yeah, and it's an issue that if it doesn't affect you, a lot of people don't talk about it, but it is affecting a lot of kids. And it's not just as simple as, okay, well, maybe they're behind in reading. It can lead to behavior issues.
Absolutely. Particularly within myself, I hated the classroom. Up until around about 3rd grade, I knew that something was wrong. And so I immediately was disenchanted with school, like most kids are, and went into a life of crime. Now, I'm not saying that reading is the panacea to all crime, but what I am saying is if a person can read fluently and write orthographically correct, that person has a greater chance of being successful in life. But the dyslexic kids, they usually drop, 35% of dyslexic kids drop out of school. And so you have 40% of those kids, if they're dyslexic, they have a high likely chance to being on welfare. So this is impacting every area of our lives in the community.
Certainly, and research supports what you're saying. Education is tied to crime, reading levels are tied to crime, and then poverty is tied into that as well, which is actually not a conversation we talk about enough as we cover crime in this city with young people.
Absolutely. I mean, the young kids that I've mentored in this city, many of them can't read nor write, and they're very violent kids because they're angry inside. So it's an issue that can be addressed. However, to get that type of remediation, it's about $125 an hour. I took a class for 15 months online. It was $125 an hour.
Wow, which is extremely expensive.
Extremely expensive. So when you look at poor people, they can't afford this. Now, here's the great thing about dyslexia. Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Richard Branson, all these people are dyslexic. They have trouble with reading. However, it's the genius mind. I mean, that mind, as a young man, I was finding out ways to make money, right? I was just very, very creative. But when you get on like CNN, Good Morning America, I see people talking about dyslexia, particularly Caucasians, and they're very wealthy people talking about their kids have dyslexia. So that's the good side of it, because it is the genius brain. But the ugly side of dyslexia, that's why I titled the book The Ugly Side, when you're not identified or you're not diagnosed, that kid falls into a deeper and deeper pit. And so that reading gap becomes, if you don't address it early, the reading gaps become wider and wider and wider. So we have to address it now.
And what was the turning point for you? Because you're, of course, a successful actor now. We were talking about some of the shows you're working on.
Yes.
What is the turning point for you?
Unfortunately, the turning point for me was prison. And a kid doesn't have to learn to go to prison. I mean, learn to read in prison. I was diagnosed while in prison. I shouldn't have had to go to prison to be diagnosed. Why couldn't the school system diagnose me? Why? And so, unfortunately, it was prison. A guy told me, he said, Ameer,
unfortunately, we are out of time. You have such an amazing story. I'm sorry to cut you off. Where can we get the book really quick?
Amazon.com.
All right, get it on Amazon, guys.